Joe is an ugly ninja, just kidding. Joe is former ninja who escaped from his clan and wants to live peacefully with his family. But his son and wife are victimized, so he awakens his overpowers ninja skill to avenge them. The story starts with a man who is anxiously riding a train. He gets off and runs like mad, but a group of people who know his secret catch up with him. They fill the area with smoke, and the man fights back with incredible skill, taking on several foes at once. The enemies throw blades at him, so he draws his own blade to defend himself. The enemies then switch to metal needles called senbon, but the man has amazing reflexes and catches them with his teeth, spitting them back at his attackers. However, the man is outnumbered and overpowered. He is captured when a device grabs his neck, and he is dragged by a fearsome man. The wicked man slams the man to the ground and finishes him off with his sword. The enemies use a gadget to verify that their target is dead, and they leave. Meanwhile, a farmer named Joe is having a good time on his farm and goes back home to work on his motorcycle. He plays a game with his young son, Kyle, who tries to surprise him, and he tells the boy that he can see behind him. Joe's wife, Sarah, comes in and is shocked by how dirty Joe's face is. Kyle says that his mask is like the ones that the Oni wear, but they are evil people. Joe cautions him that the Oni might mistake him for one of them, but Kyle is confident that his dad will protect him if they ever show up. Joe jokes that he doesn't know if he can beat these imaginary creatures, but Sarah says that she will handle them for Kyle. Joe teases that he needs to finish fixing his motorcycle quickly, in case Sarah needs his help against the Oni. Later, a news report says that the man from before was killed, and Sarah is worried that it might have been the Oni. Kyle agrees that it was them, but it's time for him to go to sleep. The boy bids his mom goodnight, and Joe tells him that his birthday is coming soon. With Kyle sound asleep, Joe carefully checks the security cameras around his house. Sarah is troubled by the way the man was killed and the fact that no one knows who he was. Joe tells her not to worry and assures her that they are safe in their isolated location. Sarah is especially afraid of someone called the Reaper, but Joe says that it can't be him since he always worked solo. The story continues with a scene of how careful Joe is about concealing their identity, as he erases their fingerprints from a doorknob. The happy family goes on with their tranquil life as usual, and Joe tries his best to be a good father, as he makes his son smile. One night, the news reports that another person was killed by a mysterious group. This is one of several deaths that have happened lately, so a big investigation is launched to find out what is going on. On Kyle's birthday, the loving family has a nice barbecue. They all laugh and sing songs, and Kyle blows out the candles on his favorite kind of birthday cake. Kyle opens a gift and finds a video game, and Joe gives him a new helmet too. Joe likes this one better than the scary Oni mask, so Kyle says that he is not a bad guy anymore, he is a hero. Sarah says that she just likes seeing his normal face, and the whole family hugs each other. They are very happy, so they all say how much they love each other. That night, Joe gets out of bed, but he tells his wife to stay there calmly. Joe goes downstairs, where everything looks fine. Suddenly, something shows up in the window and Joe is attacked. The attackers break in, but Joe fights off many of them skillfully. His amazing skill lets him take one of their weapons, and he uses his sword to kill many of these men. While he is killing one guy, Joe hears his son scream for him. The alert Joe acts right away. He stops an attacker who tries to block him and totally crushes this guy. Joe runs to find his family as he grabs something, but another attacker shoots 2 metal needles through his neck. The stubborn Joe does not let that stop him, so he crawls up the stairs. The terrible pain is too much for him, and we see a strange figure outside. Joe finally gets to the 2nd floor, where he sees that many attackers have been killed. But then Joe is horrified when he sees Kyle and Sarah's dead bodies on the floor. Shock fills Joe's body, and the evil-looking guy says that Joe's wife fought well. This monster stabs his blade through her neck, making Joe very angry, but he is stabbed in the back. Joe pulls the attacker as he tries to get to his family, but his body is too hurt to keep going. The attackers see that someone must have called the police as they hear sirens in the distance. The story goes on with a scene of how the leader checks that Joe is dead, and they leave just before the police get there. The police get to the scene and are shocked to see the slaughtered family. Sometime later, Joe, who seemed to be dead, wakes up. His first thoughts are of his dead family, and he throws up from the intense emotion in his body. The next time Joe wakes up, he is in a hospital, and the nurse quickly calls for a doctor. Joe only says his wife's name, and he faints again. Joe finally wakes up, and a doctor tells him that he came back to life after the coroner had already said they were dead. Joe doesn't care, and just wants to know about his wife and son. Sadly, he is told that they are gone. Outside, we see that two people have come to see him. They are Mike and Emma, and they are from the FBI. They need help with their investigation, so they ask him some questions about who the attackers might have been. Joe doesn't say anything, but Mike can see that he is very angry. This is probably the worst time to be asking him questions, so Mike just gives him his card. Mike tells Emma that it's just a guess, but he thinks that Joe knows who the attackers are. He decides that they will watch him in turns, and Emma is first. As she watches Joe on the roof, Joe remembers a moment ago when he was taken to say goodbye to his family. The nurse saw that he couldn't move Joe anymore, and it was because Joe stopped the wheelchair. Joe was furious and couldn't stand to get any closer to his dead family's bodies. Back on the roof, memories of his wife and son fill his mind, and Joe starts to snarl in anger. His anger gets to its peak, and he reaches for his wrist again. This time, he pulls out a metal needle. Joe stabs himself with it, and it does something weird to his body. Then, Joe is attacked by some assassins. He is still very angry, so he goes crazy and kills many of the attackers. Joe shows amazing strength and skill as he somehow takes over the fight. But that's not all, as Joe does some kind of magic and turns his body into black smoke. This move is very powerful, as it lets him kill many assassins in one moment. The story follows with a scene of how Emma has no idea what's happening, but Joe doesn't explain anything and knocks her out. The furious Joe then keeps on attacking and rips apart many more attackers. There are a lot of them, and Joe oddly shoots a sword at the elevator. We then see why he did that, as he uses a pole to protect himself and pushes all the other assassins into the elevator. Even though Joe is greatly outnumbered, it is obvious that the assassins are stuck with him and not the other way around. Joe stands over all their bodies as he gets to another floor, and he scares any other enemies. Mike wonders why Emma is not answering his call and is stunned when he sees many bodies. Joe is done nearby, and he meets the assassin leader. Memories come back to Joe's mind, so he attacks the leader with rage. This leader is clearly different from the others, as he fights well and even manages to put a device around Joe's neck. Joe quickly gets free, but the fight is still even. Joe finally uses his shadow skill again, and it lets him hit a powerful attack. Joe quickly does more hits, and the fight is over soon. Joe wants to know how they found him and his family, and how they knew it was him. The leader says with a sneer that Joe can change his look as much as he wants, but he will never get away from his destiny. Joe then surprises this guy and takes off his disguise. Joe doesn't say anything from here and just kills the leader. Joe then goes to see his family. He can barely stand to look, and he falls to his knees. Later, Joe goes back home and makes a hole in a wall. He takes out a box he had hidden, and we see that it has some things, including a mask. Joe looks at a picture that fills his mind with memories of his family again. We see his family home one last time before Joe sets it on fire. Joe watches as his once happy and calm life burns away, and he puts on the mask. The fire destroys every memory, but we see that Joe is still angry. Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying the series, don't forget to leave a comment and like to support this channel. Love you guys.